Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel called Bringing Death Out of the Closet. My name is Kate Loving-Shenk of katelovingshenk.com, and I've been a nurse for 30 years, and I am author of the Prayer Prescription series and creator of the upcoming webinar, or I should say Hang-In-Our series called Bringing Death Out of the Closet. And today we're going to be talking about bringing death out of the closet. Why now? And we have many reasons why now is the only time to be bringing death out of the closet. So there are 10 reasons. And first of all, let me change the slide. There are, if we can't do it, maybe somebody else can. So let's explore the people who might be the ones to bring death out of the closet. Maybe Hollywood can do it? Well, I don't think so. Hollywood movies focus on youth worship and sees death as a failure, as a tragedy, as pure morbidity. And not every movie in the world is like that, but certainly some of the stuff you see with people getting shot up and dying and people who are in love and not being able to have a long life together because people die, and it's just like a complete catastrophe. So almost every Hollywood movie I've ever seen has the fear of death looming over the plot and every actor in the movie. How about the medical industry? Well, no. Death is definitely seen as a failure. Doctors purposely don't talk about it. Many nurses don't talk about it either, but many do. More and more nurses are on the forefront of this movement of taking death and bringing it out of the closet. So as a healthcare professional myself, whenever we fail to save a life, especially a baby, it is reason for great shame and great guilt. How about the priests and the clergy? No, most people of the cloth will tell you that you will be punished for all the sinful, wrong, and bad things you've done in your life. That is cause for so much problems that people get really hung up on religion. And I can tell you that the main reason would be because of the ways that the clergy discuss death with their parishioners. You either go to heaven or you go to hell. It's a Christian thing. Certainly other religions and great spiritual teachers don't teach that at all. Well, what about your teachers? Well, maybe. Now, if your teacher is a dolphin, then dolphins know the exact moment when they are going to die, and then they exit consciously. Are dolphins humankind's greatest teachers? Has anybody here ever swam with the dolphins? It's an amazing experience because they transport you into a consciousness that you aren't expecting. You are suddenly in a whole different reality, and you are seeing life from a completely elevated and enlightened state of mind that lasts for days. One time, my first date with my husband was going out to Virginia Beach. We had a little raft out there, and all of a sudden, hundreds of dolphins surrounded us. And they were so beautiful, black and sleek, that it was an amazing indication of the fact that we would be together as long as we have, almost 30 years. These creatures were not frightening, and they looked us in the eye, and a few of them had little babies with them. And I certainly wasn't going to jump in the water and swim with one because they were wild, but on the other hand, they must have not been afraid of us, and that is the most beautiful thing of all. How about your gurus, like the great spiritual teachers? Obviously, our greatest spiritual teachers have a whole different attitude about death, and they can teach us a great deal about letting go and letting God, Goddess. But perhaps death is our greatest guru. Perhaps death is our greatest teacher. All fear is rooted in the fear of death. Fear of death is the primary fear at the root of all violence, greed, and aggression. But getting back to the great spiritual teachers who had the tendency to integrate all of the world religions and all of the great universal spiritual teachings, and these beings, I would think the ones that I have met over my life, do not have a fear of death. And that fact that they don't have that fear of death certainly helps the people who are around them to adapt that attitude themselves. So think about that. What about nature? Mother Nature. Yes, the four seasons teach us everything we need to know about birth, rebirth, death, and transformation. There is nothing like a walk in nature to tune you into the eternal now and to see that that eternity isn't necessarily permanent because of the ways that the trees die back in the autumn and are completely, seemingly, not really dead, but they are lifeless in the winter. But if you look very closely, there are buds kind of emerging from the trees, very subtle and very, very beautiful. And then in March, as spring again, spring's eternal, you'll see these changes and they're beautiful. How about our animals? Yes, our animals take death in stride. It does not frighten them. I've been with many a dog who have died. I've been with cats who have died, and they are not afraid. They actually are looking to us and they are worried about our fear of death. They don't want us to mourn them, even though we do. However, what I would like to do with these Haganahs is to transform our attitudes about the death of the ones that we love and the death of the beautiful animals in our lives so that we see it as a great celebration, even at the time of the death happening. They're not going anywhere. They're always with us. And we need to realize that it is a beautiful, beautiful thing to learn from the animals. They are our greatest teachers, especially when it comes to death. How about the ocean? I believe the ocean can help us bring death out of the closet. There's a great ebb and there's a great flow, the rising and the falling, the rhythms of life, the patterns that repeat themselves. All of these give us a chance to heal and transform our lives. And you know, these patterns that repeat themselves, often we might beat ourselves up when some of the patterns that repeat themselves are seemingly negative, but in reality, they keep coming back because we have to deal with it. And when we look it in the face and realize that it's there for our greatest lesson in life, we can transform it and move on. How about the dawn and the dusk? Beginnings and endings, yes. The dawn and the dusk can teach us so much about bringing death out of the closet. The sun rises and it sets all in the course of a 6 to 12-hour period, depending on the season. We can ask our patients to draw a picture of their illness. And whether the pictures show the sun rising or whether the pictures show the sun setting, if the sun is depicted at all, it is indicative of how the person drawing the picture envisioned their future. The rising sun is a new beginning. The setting sun is the closing of a chapter. However, what is most important is how a person interprets these symbols for themselves. That is first and foremost the most important thing. So there are many different opportunities in our lives to help us see that death is not the fearsome thing that we might have thought that it was. I mean, even if we don't think it is, everybody around us thinks it is the most frightening thing in the whole entire world. So let us think about this a minute. Death has been taken out of American culture, completely out. It is no longer a natural part of the circle of life. Death is seen as a failure. It's tragic. It's morbid. So let me just change the slide here 1 second. Whoops, hello there. we will go back to that slide. And I am going to change that a little bit. So it looks like we're the ones who have to bring death out of the closet. We need to re-educate the dying, the people who are dying, so that they can see death as the pinnacle of life, the grand finale of a long and fabulous journey. We need to celebrate life whenever, death whenever it comes. We need to celebrate it. We need to see that no matter what the circumstances, the dying are released into the arms of love. And when, no matter what the circumstances, meaning if they committed murder, if they've been raping millions of people, it doesn't really matter what the circumstances. The dying, no matter who they are released into the arms of love. Love is unconditional. Love doesn't point fingers. Love does not blame. Love does not tell you that you're bad. Love does not want you to feel shameful. So every day, if we practice forgiveness of ourselves and others, and certainly forgiveness of self is probably the place to begin, then in this process, we'll practice acceptance of everything without judgment. We need to embrace fear, sorrow, and loss. All of this leads to a profound sense of gratitude. Gratitude for everything. It's a complete liberation. So if we focus on these every day, then we will be ready to die when that time comes. So many times when we're on our deathbed or when we see others on their deathbed, it's like all of a sudden people start then. But we have to start now. Starting now is the great liberation. So where is the I that is separate from the body? Where is it? Does anybody know? Because we feel it, we experience it, and it's everywhere. But we don't really know where the heck it is. Death helps us to face the great I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And in that state, there is no ego. Isn't that cool? Wow. So, let me get back to this. So, yeah, let me just go on and say a few things about that. I had to close out another desktop. I guess I lost it. That's okay. We don't need to do this. I just want to say that, do you know that all of us have the right? Oh, this is so cool. We all have the right to act as funeral directors for the people that we love. We don't have to give the people who have died, and hopefully they die at home, because then we have greater control over the situation. So that we can act as funeral directors for the people in our lives who have died. We don't have to hire funeral directors. And I think people are so hung up on that they don't know. We need to get that idea out there. We can care for the body of our loved ones and actually hold them there for 3 to 4 days until we either bury the body or cremate the body. And they're doing it this way is an ancient practice that was taken away from all of us in the last century, when all of a sudden we gave the bodies over to the funeral directors. Now, really, it's not necessary. We have adapted these things. We've come to accept these practices, but in reality, we don't have to do it that way. We actually can take the body home from the hospital and keep the body at home if in fact, our loved one dies in the hospital. I think they have to do a certain thing to the body or have the coroner come out and all this and that. That's a law. But after these things have been done, we can bring the body home. We can keep the body on dry ice, and we can celebrate the life of this person. People can come and visit and tell stories, and it is a beautiful way to continue a very meditative and beautiful practice ancient practice that has been done for generations, and we can bring this back into practice by just doing it. In other words, we don't wait for somebody else to do it. We have to do it. So we have to reclaim this ritual, which helps people come to an understanding about death. What is it? It's a celebration. It's not only a celebration of life, it is the pinnacle of all of life. It's the great moment of liberation. And when we adapt that worldview into our philosophies and into our beliefs and into our experience, this is exactly what's going to happen. So we need to look at death with a sense of peace rather than horror, and we have to work on that. So that is really my little talk for the day. I love you all. Certainly, this is going to be, I believe, a weekly occurrence. I'm going to take certain aspects of our cultural beliefs and bring those out of the closet. And I do want to bring guests in, and we can talk about death as a natural process. And the reason I use the word death, even though it really doesn't exist, is because death is a word that people avoid. They're afraid of it, and that we need to say it. We need to say it in the way that nurtures all of life. And so, like I say, you can go over to KateLovingShank.com, and there is a little tab up there that says Join My Community. And join my community, and you can get 3 free interviews that I've done with death and dying experts. And I hope to see you on the other side. But namaste, peace on earth, great love. Bye.